1. The Morning War. Every single morning, before your feet touch the floor, your mind is already making decisions about who you are going to be that day. Most people never question what their inner voice is saying. They let it drag them back into old patterns, old fears, old stories about why they are not enough. But the words you speak to yourself in the morning are not just motivational noise. They are commands sent directly to your nervous system. They shape your biochemistry. They determine whether you move through the day as a reactive victim or as a deliberate architect of your own life. Today that changes. 2. The war most people are losing. The tragedy is not that people are struggling. The tragedy is that they are struggling unconsciously. They wake up every morning and hand their mind over to whatever mood the day brings, whatever notification demands their attention, whatever anxiety decides to visit first. They are in a war and they do not even know it is happening. The ancient Stoics understood something that most modern people have completely forgotten, that the mind left to itself will not naturally orient toward strength, clarity, or purpose. It will orient toward fear, comfort, and distraction. The battle for your mind must be fought deliberately, every single morning, before anything else happens. And it must be fought with intention, with words, with philosophy. 3. Why the morning is sacred. When you wake up, your brain operates in theta and alpha wave states for the first 20 to 45 minutes. This is the same state associated with deep meditation and hypnosis. Your subconscious mind is unusually open. The critical filters that guard your conscious thoughts are still warming up. Whatever you feed your mind during this window does not just stay in working memory. It sinks deeper and begins shaping the neural pathways that determine how you perceive everything that follows. The morning is not just a time of day. It is the most important battlefield of your entire life. What you do with it determines everything else. 4. What Marcus Aurelius did every morning. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome and one of the greatest Stoic minds in history, did not wake up and reach for distraction. He did not check messages or absorb the noise of the world before he had prepared his mind. He sat with his thoughts, examined his principles, and deliberately fortified himself for the difficulties ahead. What we now read in his private journal, the Meditations, was his morning mental training. It was never meant to be published. It was a man talking to himself, reminding himself of what he believed, who he wanted to be, and how he intended to show up that day. That discipline, practiced daily without exception, is what made him extraordinary. 5. The 5 words that change everything. 5 words. That is all this takes. 5 simple, ancient, life-changing words that you can say to yourself every single morning to begin the process of rewiring your mind permanently. They are not affirmations in the shallow, feel-good sense of that word. They are a philosophical declaration rooted in thousands of years of Stoic wisdom and confirmed by modern neuroscience. Each word carries its own weight. Each word does its own work inside your mind. Together they form a complete morning practice that, done consistently, will alter the trajectory of your life in ways you cannot yet imagine. Stay with this until the end. Every word matters. 6. The first word, I. Just one syllable. But saying, I, with true intention is a declaration of selfhood. Most people have quietly abandoned their sense of self without realizing it. Over years, their identity has become a patchwork of what others told them, what their failures seem to prove, what their social feed reflects back. They wake up not as a self but as a collection of external definitions. The Stoics placed the rational, governing self, the hegemonikon, at the center of everything. Epictetus taught that no matter what life strips away, there is always a choosing center that remains. When you say, I, in the morning with intention, you are locating yourself. You are saying, I exist. I am present. I am the one who chooses. 7. Why identity is the foundation of everything. Before behavior changes, identity must change first. This is not a motivational slogan, it is a psychological truth that every serious tradition of human development has recognized. You cannot consistently act in ways that contradict your deepest sense of who you are. The person who believes at their core that they are weak will find a way to be weak even when they are trying to be strong. The person who has claimed, at the level of identity, that they are a choosing, sovereign self will find a way to exercise that sovereignty even under enormous pressure. The I in the morning declaration is not a warm-up. It is the foundation on which everything else is built. 8. The second word I am may be the two most powerful words in any human language. What follows them is not a description, it is a creation. When you say, I am tired, you are not reporting a state, you are reinforcing it. When you say, I am capable, you are not thinking positively, you are beginning to restructure the neural architecture of your identity. Marcus Aurelius wrote again and again about the mind's ability to define its own nature and become what it consistently affirms. Your brain has a negativity bias. Left unchecked, the I am your brain constructs by default will be built from your worst memories and deepest fears. The morning declaration is the counterweight. It is you saying, I am more than my history. I am what I choose to become. 9. The power of present tense. There is something uniquely powerful about the present tense that most people completely overlook. When you say, I will be strong someday, your brain files that away as a future intention, something vague, distant, and not yet real. When you say, I am choosing strength, your brain processes it as current reality. It begins aligning your perception, your decisions, and your behavior with that present tense declaration. The Stoics lived entirely in the present tense. They did not defer virtue to a better moment. They did not say they would be patient tomorrow or courageous next week. They chose it now. In the present moment. In the only moment that ever actually exists. Your morning declaration must be present tense. It must be now. 10. The third word, choosing. Epictetus opens the Enchiridion with the most important division in all of Stoic philosophy. Some things are up to us, and some are not. What is up to us is our inner life, our responses, our choices. Everything else is not. Our instinct, shaped by evolution, is to react, to be pulled by whatever is loudest in the room and hand over the steering wheel of our mind to external events. Saying, I am choosing, is an act of reclamation. It is you saying, before the day starts, that you are not a reaction. You are a decision. Every moment that follows will offer you options, not about what happens, but about how you respond. That distinction is everything. 11. The dichotomy of control. Epictetus was a slave before he became a philosopher. He knew what it meant to have almost nothing within his external control, not his body, not his freedom, not his circumstances. And yet he became one of the most powerful voices in human history on the subject of inner freedom. Because he understood, more deeply than almost anyone, that the one thing no master could take from him was his choice of response. His inner life remained his own. That is the dichotomy of control, and it is not a passive idea. It is the most demanding and liberating framework ever devised for human living. When you say the word, choosing, in the morning, you are standing in that same tradition of radical inner freedom. 12. The fourth word, strength. This is not physical strength, or social dominance. The Stoics were uninterested in what could be taken away. The strength this word points toward is inner, moral and psychological resilience. The capacity to remain whole when everything around you is breaking. The Stoics called this virtue, arete, and considered it the only true good. Not health, not wealth, not pleasure, not fame. Virtue. Character. The unshakable quality of the self in relation to itself. When you say, I am choosing strength, you are not claiming you feel strong right now. You might feel exhausted or afraid. What you are declaring is the direction of your choosing, the orientation of your inner compass before the day has a chance to spin it in 1,000 different directions. 13. Building the inner reserve. Every morning you make this declaration, you deposit something into a deep account inside yourself. Some mornings the deposit is small, barely a whisper of intention against the noise of life. Other mornings it is enormous, a roar of defiance against everything that is trying to pull you under. But over time, the account grows. It compounds. And on the day when life hits you with something truly hard, a loss, a failure, a betrayal, a moment when everything you relied on falls away, you will find something there waiting for you. An unshakable core. A bedrock of chosen strength that no external force could have built and none can destroy. That is the Stoic promise. That is what you are building every morning. 14. The fifth word, today. Most human suffering is not about the present moment. It is about replaying the past and projecting into a feared future. The Stoics were masters of present moment urgency. Seneca wrote about the shortness of life not to cause despair but to create clarity, to make people see that time is finite and rushing past while they delay and defer. Marcus Aurelius returned again and again in his private writings to the idea of acting rightly now, not someday. When you add, today, to your declaration, you release yourself from the impossible burden of transforming everything at once. You do not have to fix your whole life. You only have to choose strength in this one day. These next 24 hours. That is doable for anyone. 15. The complete declaration. Here they are. All 5. Together. I am choosing strength today. Say them slowly. Say them with weight. Say them like you mean them, because you do. I exist. I am a self. I am the one who chooses. Right now, in this present moment, I am declaring who I am. Choosing. I am not being swept along. I am deciding. Strength. I am choosing the version of myself that is grounded and resilient and capable. Today, not forever. Not perfectly. Just today. 5 words. 5 layers of transformation. One morning practice that, done consistently, will change the trajectory of your life in ways nothing else can. 16. Why consistency is everything. One-time insights change nothing. The Stoics revered practice over knowledge. Epictetus made this clear: knowing a philosophy and living it are entirely different things. Neuroscience confirms this through neuroplasticity. Neural pathways activated repeatedly become stronger, faster, and more automatic. Every morning you say these words and act on them, you are building a different brain, one more naturally oriented toward agency, clarity, and resilience. But it only works through daily repetition. Especially on the hard mornings. Anyone can choose strength when life is easy. The practice is for the mornings when everything feels heavy and pointless and impossible. Those are the mornings that define you. Those are the mornings where the real work happens. 17. What Stoicism actually is. Stoicism is not emotional repression or grim endurance. It is frequently misunderstood as a philosophy of feeling nothing, of becoming a stone-faced person who is unmoved by life. That is completely wrong. The Stoics felt deeply. Marcus Aurelius grieved. Seneca struggled. Epictetus knew suffering firsthand in ways most people will never experience. What they cultivated was not the absence of feeling but the presence of choice in response to feeling. They felt, and then they chose. That gap, between the feeling and the response, is where all human freedom lives. Stoicism is the philosophy of that gap. It is the most practical, demanding, and genuinely liberating framework ever created for living as a human being in a difficult world. 18. Viktor Frankl and the ultimate proof. Viktor Frankl survived Nazi concentration camps and went on to write one of the most powerful books in human history. He arrived at the same truth as the Stoics through the most extreme circumstances imaginable, that even in conditions of total external powerlessness, the last human freedom remains intact. The freedom to choose one's inner response. His fellow prisoners who lost that inner freedom, who surrendered their sense of self and choice entirely to their circumstances, did not survive. Those who maintained an inner life, an inner orientation, a reason and a choosing self, many of them did. That is not an abstraction. That is the Stoic philosophy proven in the hardest laboratory human history has ever produced. 19. The ripple effect. When you change your inner life in the morning, changes appear in places you did not expect. Your relationships shift. Your work changes. Your sense of possibility expands. The person who wakes up every morning and deliberately chooses their inner orientation carries themselves differently. They respond differently in conflict. They make different decisions under pressure. They inspire trust in others because they have become trustworthy to their own values and principles. Marcus Aurelius believed that the quality of his inner life directly affected his leadership and therefore the lives of millions. When you choose strength in the morning, you bring that strength into every conversation, every problem, every person whose life intersects with yours. This is how you become genuinely useful to the world. 20. The invitation. You came to this for a reason. Something in you recognized that you are capable of more than you have been living. That gap between who you are and who you know you could be, that is not a sign that you are broken. That is the call. The Stoics would tell you that everything you need is already inside you. The capacity to choose. The capacity to strengthen. The capacity to show up differently starting tomorrow morning. 5 words. Every morning. I am choosing strength today. Start tomorrow. No, start right now. Say them wherever you are. Feel what happens. That small shift, repeated daily, is the beginning of everything. And if this reached something real inside you, subscribe to this channel right now. Share it with someone who needs it. We will see you in the next one. Subscribe to this channel for more Stoic wisdom and mental strength training delivered every single week. Every person you share this with is one morning closer to changing their life.